Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm sharing all of our family favorite breakfast ideas. So these things are all super quick and easy to make if you just need a very quick and easy breakfast for a busy weekday. These are perfect, and a lot of them you can actually prep ahead of time too, which is super convenient and nice. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. For this first recipe, we are making breakfast burritos. This is a staple in house. We make this all the time. I've done this for breakfast, for dinner sometimes even, but it's absolutely delicious. I'm just starting off with a pound of some Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage, and then I did decide to add in some sweet bell peppers, but that's totally optional. You don't have to do that unless you want to. And then over to my bowl, I'm adding in about a dozen eggs. You can add a little bit more if you want your burritos to be a little bit more eggy versus lots of sausage in there, but our kids love them with lots of sausage. So I usually do about 12 to 15 eggs for a pound of sausage. And then I'm just eyeballing this here, but I would say I add probably about half a cup of milk, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and then just a little bit of pepper in there. When I'm using sausage for this recipe, I don't feel the need to add any salt in there, but that's just personal preference. I'm just whisking all of those eggs together to add into the sausage. While my sausage is cooking up, I am getting my cheese ready. I recently started shredding my own cheese at home just because it tastes so much better, and it also melts really well in recipes. So this is a 1 pound block, and I actually just ordered this rotary grater on Amazon. It is so good, you guys. Before I was using a box grater. I don't think I will ever go back to that. This works so well. I'm gonna link it for you guys down below. This is not sponsored, but I just needed something else, and this has worked so well. So I'm just getting all of my cheese shredded up. Now back over to my skillet, I'm just scraping the sausage off to the side, and I'm just going to pour that egg mixture right in here. And at this point, we're basically just making scrambled eggs. So just go ahead and mix those up, scramble them up until you reach the doneness that you want for your eggs. Obviously for breakfast burritos, I would recommend that you fully cook them, but I'm just getting all of those cooked up, and then we're going to head over there and actually make our breakfast burritos. This is actually a recipe that can be frozen. I will probably film a freezer meals video soon if you guys want to see that one for breakfast ideas, so let me know if you guys want to see that video soon. Now to actually make the breakfast burritos, I always like to do a dollop of sour cream along with the salsa, some eggs in there, sausage, cheese. This turns out so delicious every single time, and I love that I can customize these for everyone in my family. Like my kids typically don't want sour cream, my daughter doesn't like cheese, so it's just really easy to make them exactly how they want, and they love this recipe. I hope you guys will try this out if you've never actually made breakfast burritos. These are absolutely delicious. So I'm just going to wrap this up, and sometimes I will throw it in a pan like I am on this day, and it just kind of helps seal up the bottom and melts the cheese and everything, or you can just serve them as is. It's totally up to you, but this one is definitely a must try. For this next recipe, I am making some German pancakes or Pannkuchen. This is something that we make at least once a week. It's so easy for a quick and easy breakfast. I'm just preheating my oven to 425 degrees, and then into my 9x13 pan here, I'm adding like 4 to 5 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm going to throw that in the oven and let it melt while I'm mixing up the egg mixture. So there's 6 eggs in my bowl here, and I'm just adding in a cup of flour in there along with a cup of milk. I do always use whole milk for this recipe. I'm sure 2% would be just fine. And then I'm adding a splash of vanilla, a little pinch of salt in there, and then I'm just going to mix all of this together. The recipe says to use a blender, but I almost never use my blender because it's a pain to wash. So I usually just use my immersion blender and mix it up really well. You want this to be very light and airy. There's no baking soda or baking powder in this recipe, so it's just the eggs that you want to get kind of like light and fluffy. And then you're just going to pour that into your 9x13 dish. Make sure your butter is melted. Bake this for about 22 to 24 minutes, and it is so delicious. We just serve ours with powdered sugar and syrup, and we love this recipe so much. For this next recipe, we are going to be making breakfast cookies, which might sound weird, but they are a much healthier alternative to cookies. It's kind of like a baked oatmeal, but this is 2 1/4 cup of oats. I did use quick oats for this one. And then I have 3/4 teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a cup of peanut butter. a 1/4 cup of honey, and then you're going to want 2 really ripe bananas and just mash those up, and then 1/2 cup of flaxseed, and then you can do raisins here or blueberries, chocolate chips, really whatever you want. I did decide to use chocolate chips. I added about 1/2 cup of chocolate chips in there. Give them a really good mix together, and these are absolutely delicious. They are a perfect little treat in the morning. They're very nice and soft. I definitely prefer these over baked oatmeal. I'm not a huge fan of that, but these breakfast cookies are absolutely delicious. You're going to bake these at 325 degrees for about 15 to 16 minutes. I do love to use air baked cooking sheets. I feel like everything just turns out so much better that way. So I scooped these out into a dozen cookies, and then I did make sure to press down the tops because these aren't going to spread out like a normal cookie would. So if you want them to have that cookie appearance, you're definitely going to want to flatten them a little bit, but then just throw those in the oven, and this is a really quick and easy breakfast that I think your kids will really like. For this next breakfast recipe, I'm actually just making some apple crumble muffins. These are a family favorite. These are absolutely delicious. Into my stand mixer, I just have 1 egg. I'm adding in 1/2 cup of milk, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, and then I actually should have added in the sugar here. You're going to want to add in 1 cup of sugar, a splash of vanilla in there, and then just give that a mix together. And then we're going to add in all of our dry ingredients. You will see that I added the sugar in here just because I forgot earlier. But for the dry ingredients, you're going to do 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then just go ahead and stir everything together. You definitely don't want to overmix this with muffins. You don't want to overmix the batter. So just really just stir it until it's combined, and then that's it. And then you're going to add in your chopped apples. For this recipe, I used about 2 cups of apples. These are Jazz apples. I just peeled them, cored them, and diced them up into fine pieces. And then I'm just giving this a mix together by hand before I fill up my muffin tins. For my muffins, I typically don't put the paper liners in here. I will just spray it with oil really well. I really like the Chosen brand avocado oil from Costco. That's what I've been using lately, and it works really well. Just make sure that everything is sprayed really well and I don't have issues with it sticking. And I'm going to divide these out into 12 different cups, and then we're going to start working on our crumble that goes on top of these muffins. So for the crumble, you're going to want to start off with about 1.5 tablespoons of softened butter in a bowl, 1/4 cup of sugar, a 1/4 cup of flour, and then about a teaspoon of cinnamon. And then you're just going to take a fork and kind of mash all of this together. You want it to be mixed, but you also want it to be kind of like crumbly. So you're just kind of push on that butter and mash it up. And then this crumble is going to go right on top of those muffins and make them so delicious. You definitely don't want to skip out on the crumble on these muffins. They're so yummy. I love these muffins so much. But then you're just going to put these in a 425-degree oven for about 5 minutes. And then after those 5 minutes have passed, you'll turn down the oven temp and cook them for another 14 minutes. You guys are really going to love these muffins, I think. Next up, we are making these copycat Ihop pancakes. Now, this is my all-time favorite pancake recipe that I'm sharing with you guys. We are actually starting off by just making some homemade buttermilk. So this is just a cup of whole milk with a tablespoon of lemon juice. Great way to make buttermilk if you don't want to buy any. Then just set that aside while we mix everything else up. So into my bowl here, I've got 1.25 cups of flour, about a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder, and then you're going to want to add in a little pinch of salt, probably like 1/8 teaspoon. Whisk all of that together for your dry ingredients, and then you're going to be adding all of our wet ingredients right in here. This is just 1 egg, a splash of vanilla, and then you're going to want to add the buttermilk right in there, and then get all of that whisked together. You're also going to want to add in a 1/4 cup of sugar and then 2 tablespoons of melted butter right on top, and then just whisk all of that together until there's no lumps in your batter. Now I'm just using my griddle for these pancakes. It works really well. Again, I'm using that same avocado oil to spray this, and then I'm just adding my batter right on here. Some variations that you can do with these pancakes is to add on fresh blueberries or chocolate chips. You can do like a cinnamon swirl pancake, but these are my all-time favorite. They're like fluffy, but they're not super ridiculously thick like a lot of pancakes are. You definitely have to try these ones. You will not regret it. If you try this recipe, definitely let me know down in the comments if you like it as much as we do. All right, that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed all of these breakfast ideas. If you like this style of breakfast video, definitely let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.